I'm really, really glad to be here. I'm going to make a super quick introduction because we have a lot of super interesting things to talk about today. I'm Pietro. I'm currently the founder of Not Linear. It's an AI training company for non-technical team, exclusively focused on sales team, marketing team. All of those teams were never dealt with code, as you said before. Previously, in the last 2 years, I co-founded and led an agency, a development agency. We were doing the reverse of what I'm training now, right? We were doing the implementation of really technical stuff for a mid-sized company in Europe and the US, and we just finalized the sale of the company. So now I have the full attention to put into the training company.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing stuff that you've been up to. So the idea that I've seen from your post that keeps coming up is this gen operator. It's a term you use a lot, and I would love for you to actually define it for us. What is a gen operator, and why do you think that's the person who ends up doing really good stuff in the next few years?
To be honest, gen operator is just a buzzword. You know, whenever you create content, unfortunately or fortunately, you have to use buzzword to reach the people, so that people who are potentially interested in what you are doing get the attention grabbed and then get deeper into what you are actually building. Okay, when I refer to a gen operator, I'm just referring to a startup, a company, an enterprise operator who is using AI to enhance his work, right? So when we're talking about Gen AI operator, we could divide it into many different brackets and many different levels of a Gen AI operator, but in general, it's just an operator who's using AI to work better, faster, in a linear way. Okay, so whether you're using Cloud Cowork and skills to speed up your task, whether you're using useful AI workflow to be faster, to automate some of your work, or whether you're building full suite products, full suite software on the side using Cloud Code, you would still fall under the category of a gen operator. Okay, there are levels to it, and I believe there's a level which match your position and your background, right? So if you're a non-technical person who works in marketing, you shouldn't go straight to, hey, I'm building with Cloud Code. You can enhance your productivity, your operations, and be a better operator just by using a few adjustments to your day-to-day task and using, for example, Cloud Cowork or Cloud Skills.
Awesome. Then I fit this description perfectly because I've been playing around quite a bit lately. And you've been teaching people to do this by themselves. And is there a common trait in the ones who really take to it? Like, does it come more naturally to a certain kind of person?
In general, no, in the sense that AI made it very simple to learn new skills, right? For example, if you're trying to build the software or you need some code to scrape a website, for example, you don't need to learn how to code anymore, how to integrate to the website, all things which were really, really complex before and would turn down many people, including me, for example. You know, I would always hit a block and then I would need to spend too much time training myself to be able to do it and to see that aha moment, that result that would make me keep pushing. Basically, AI removed that. So if you just have curiosity and willingness to spend a bit of time doing trial and error and understanding how things work, I think this would literally work for everyone. In general, I do a lot of public courses when anybody can join. People who need a bit more of hand holding are people in general who have more experience, who are maybe over 35, right? Younger people tend to want to do it themselves. They have more, more willpower to do the trial and error phase by themselves. Other people who are further down their career, they need more, a little bit more guidance. But in general, I think there is not a person who is not fit to become a gen operator in terms of, even if it's just a smaller application of AI that really makes you faster into, even just organizing your inbox, preparing your meetings, etc., can be really simple stuff, but can bring a large improvement of your day-to-day.
Yeah, but is there something that people tend to get wrong? Because we see like this whole workflow when we talk about AI. And I suppose that for non-technical people that sit down for the first time with AI tools, there are probably some mistakes because you've already trained thousands of people. So I guess you have some sort of an overview over the people that are actually doing when they're building and what do they tend to get wrong in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. In general, I think the biggest mistake that people do is to have too broad of a perspective. As in, hey, I'm Pietro, I want to learn how to use AI. I'm going to test every possible tool which is out there. I'm going to try and use all of them together and integrate them all at once in my day-to-day. That generally brings a sense of overwhelm when you lose that push, the aha moment, hey, this is really sticking to my day-to-day, right? So opening your perspective too much, opening yourself too much in the sense that, hey, I want to try everything all together and adopt everything all together is one of the biggest overwhelm and one of the biggest blocker for a lot of individuals, but as well as teams, right? So I think the first recommendation I always give is focus on one or maximum two tools that can really bring a strong improvement to your day-to-day life and to your productivity. For example, if you're just getting started, by getting really proficient into using an ecosystem like Claude or an ecosystem like ChatGPT, one of the largest ecosystem, whatever fits your day-to-day best or whatever you prefer, would bring you the largest advantage as compared to, hey, I'm going to introduce Claude and then I'm going to become a professional in video editing with AI, and then I'm also going to use an A10 to build AI workflow. Start with one, get really proficient with one. For all non-technical people, I recommend this should be either Claude or OpenAI, one of the two largest ecosystems, which are the more the one that have the easier interfaces. And then after that, you can you can build on top of that and add additional skill. But that would be your core starting point to avoid getting overwhelmed by all of these inputs that you get if you're on social media, just to make an example.
Great. I'm taking this advice myself. So can you tell us about a couple of your students who built something that genuinely actually surprised you? Especially someone who walked in with no expertise at all, and then they built something amazing and you're really proud of what these people did.
Absolutely. Sorry to interrupt you, but in general, all of the people take the courses I run, and then within our company, we run also more technical trainings. But all of the people that take my trainings come with 0 to non-experience. As in, they have used the chatbot, they obviously use either ChatGPT or Claude in their day-to-day as a back and forth. I'm asking a question and getting an answer. The goal of the trainings, the one I run, is I want to bring you from, hey, I'm just using this ecosystem, the very basic of this ecosystem. It's already cool. I can already, get better in my day-to-day task, but you're not really leveraging everything it can do. So I want to bring you from, hey, I use the chatbot to I understand what it means to use a copilot like Claude Cowork that can not only automate conversation, it can not only conversate with you, where the value really lays in the conversation, okay, for brainstorming, for reviewing copyright, for writing posts, for whatever social media, it could really work well. But when you want to perform tasks, for example, hey, I want to generate a presentation, I want to create a report, I want to update a task in my CRM, you really need to get proficient into using a copilot, something like Claude Cowork or Codex, where you can assign a task, and the value of the AI is it performs the task on your behalf. It's not the conversation, but it's a task it performs, right? So this is the journey I bring people through. It goes through learning how to build the workflow, replicate their workflow so that they don't have to do it manually repeatedly. So this is the journey I drive them through. And in general, I consider it's 0 to 1. Right, is okay, I'm using the really, really basic, it's good, but it doesn't really make a difference in my life, to, hey, I'm at 1, I can do a lot of really cool stuff already by just automating simple workflow using skills, whether in Claude or in OpenAI, and this becomes really powerful. And in general, a lot of people come and then they are surprised, and that always surprises me because I think it's something that everybody should know. Wow, I can really automate complex stuff for which I needed a developer before, right? So in the last course, there was a guy who was a founder of a small company with under 10 employees. And he basically, before the end of the course, he had automated all of his backend finance and admin tasks, right? So this means collecting all of the invoices automatically from email, inputting them into the financial tracking software which they use, and then creating internal report and updating the cash flow status, right? All of this was done with 2 or 3 skills, and all of this he did by himself, just by explaining in natural language to the AI how to do it, right? So consider that this was probably taking I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 days per month. And now, there's still some work in terms of, it's not like, oh, magically all of this work disappear, but instead of doing everything himself manually, because he wanted to retain control over this important part of his business, but just by using skills, he can cut all of those 2 days in maybe a couple of hours of orchestrating and doing final checks that everything went correctly. And this is just an example. There are people who build skills to reorganize their entire drive, people who build entire plugins for their team. For example, I work a lot with sales and marketing teams, and specifically there's by the end of the course, I tell them, if you want to give something to your team, right? If you're a team leader and you want to create something for your team, and you can create tasks to have that you will provide to your team that will help them automate all of the inputs in the CRM, so the CRM stays clean and it's not a complete mess, or automate all of the coaching on call recordings and all of the preparation for the performance review. So you, as an operator, as a team leader, you can batch, you can collect a lot of workflow which are useful for your team, test them, make sure they work properly and they actually fit the standard that your company want to meet, and then give them to your team so that you make their team, make their life much easier, and you don't rely on them doing all of this stuff, understanding all of this stuff, but you do it for them, and then you just teach them how to use them, which for me, it's, especially for a team lead, but also from a team perspective and company perspective, it's something incredible, right? You can really have a strong impact on your day-to-day.
Yeah, vibe coding in AI definitely changed entrepreneurship and the way that it actually worked right up until recently. But the line between technical and non-technical used to be really clear, right? But now it's getting a little bit blurry because both can build a business, both can obviously ship a product and optimize their internal processes. So from where you sit, teaching both kinds of people, who's actually adapting faster right now? Because we were talking to some other guests and we had we had some feedback from them that actually technical teams are more resistant to this AI change that's been happening internally for companies rather than the people who are venturing into this new stuff.
Listen, technical people are a fraction of the population. By design, all of these tools are born first to serve them, right? All of the major providers, they first develop tools for coders, for technical people, and then they develop tools and they translate those tools for non-technical people. Cloud Code was born first, and then out of the success of Cloud Code, for example, Anthropic team deployed Cloud Cowork. Cloud Cowork is just a version of Cloud Code for non-technical people. Okay, this gives you an indication of where this large player bets when they need to understand when something works. Okay, if they can provide a tool that works well for their developers, that will make them faster and better, then it makes sense to bring it also for non-technical people. Okay, so I think technical people moves faster by design. They have a mindset, they can understand all of the nuances of developing and shipping software. So they are the one that gets it first. 98 of the population, or probably more, I'm just imagining a number, probably 99% are non-technical people. Okay, so it's easier to see the impact there because there are much more people and they will be very excited to do things they couldn't do before. Okay, while coders were already doing those things, now can just be much more efficient and update how they do it and upgrade how they do it, the speed at which they ship and they update software. And non-technical people weren't able to do it, right? It was impossible for me or you to automate any part of our, financial and admin tasks, right? So all of that part is completely new. So they will be, I think, naturally are more excited. Naturally, they have more a larger aha moment when they understand, wow, okay, this is what I can do. Okay, so I think the technical people are always going to be the first to adopt, and the one who can really understand, when non-technical people will have a larger world that opens for them, right? And there's a lot of people, as we were saying at the beginning, was fall into the rabbit hole of AI, and then just wow, this is incredible, I want to do everything. Then at one point they realize, okay, but I have a job, I need to do my job, and my job is a non-technical job. Maybe I can focus only on things that really give me an advantage on my day-to-day.
Absolutely. And I've seen that one of your workshops was about the AI chief of staff. That's the one where founders take all their scattered docs and turn them into what you call an AI chief of staff. So I think a lot of founders might find this very useful and immediately think, I really want this. So walk us through this, and what does it actually look like once it's running, and how do you actually create this AI chief of staff for your company?
Yes, this is a workshop that someone in my teams run. I don't run it personally, but like it's really really cool. And basically, how it works is an exercise of context design. Okay, when we talk about context design, we just talk about organizing in a nice way all of the information that the AI needs to perform certain tasks, right? So when we talk about this agentic context, we are just putting information in a structure that is easy to query from the AI, where the AI will be able to find all of this information. Okay, so the process of creating a chief of staff with AI, as well as I don't know, a marketing assistant, whatever role you want to fill, is the process of storing all of the information in a way that the AI will be able to query it and use it to give you a real advantage on your day to day, right? So the process with that people through in the workshop. This is it's a 2-hour workshop. It's not a longer course like the other one I ran. And this is basically an exercise of giving people a structure where they can get started. Okay, this is a good starting point, understanding what goes in which part of the structure, how to use the skill within the structure, how to plug it into your code, into your cloud, and then how to update it and maintain it in the future. Because all of this system and all of the context we need to update as you grow and evolve in your position and your role, right? One of the largest part of, in general, giving context to the AI is not only doing the first setup, the first installation of the context, but is designing how it evolves over time, so that the AI doesn't keep relying on information you gave a year ago and therefore gives you the wrong answer, right? So this is basically the process we drive them through, and how it looks when it's finished. You basically have an AI that really knows you better, instead of having just a generic copilot, which is when you download Claude Cowork, for example. It's exactly that. It's a generic copilot.
Yeah.
You have a copilot that really knows who you are, what you're doing, what are your tasks, what are your projects, where can find information about your projects, where all of your information are stored within your external tool stack, which CRM you use, etc., etc. So it can help you perform all your daily tasks much faster, which is in the end the goal of a chief of staff.
Absolutely, that's the main goal, I guess. Because I can only imagine like brain full of half finished things and an AI that can actually finish it for me, or at least give me context of how I can proceed to finish it myself. That would be really, really amazing. And yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Go ahead. No, I was just saying there will be different type of tasks, right? Just like when you have a physical and human chief of staff, you would have some things you need to do with him, right? It just makes you faster at doing them. You're still you still retain the control. You're still the orchestrator, and there will be things which you can have scheduled or run on a routine that he will perform even when you are not there, and you have taught him and extracted him exactly where to find information and how to do those tasks, right? So you will be able to do both, right? And all of this is very similar to having a new person joining your team, right? The same thing when a chief of staff joins your team is you need to give him context about literally everything, right? That is the same exercise of structure and context that you do for the AI. Just with the AI, it's visible in the sense that you will have a place where you put all of this information, where you'll be able to see all of this information, and you will be able to run on 24/7 all day, every day.
Yeah, I guess. I guess that this actually is a great precursor for the next question, and this other AI employee that never sleeps that you talk about. Is this really a junior hire with a different set of tasks? Or can you unpack a little bit what you meant by this AI employee?
I did a post on LinkedIn, that's what you're referring to, right?
Yes.
I was thinking, right, and I was seeing I think it was a day when Claude was experiencing an outage, right? So I had everything structured on Claude, but eventually I couldn't do it. Imagine like this for me was very much like, hey, I have a chief of staff, but today is calling in sick, right? So okay, what do I do? When there's an outage on one of the major platforms, it's a problem, right? It's like a vacation day when you're expecting someone to work, right? And I was basically, I took this thought and expanded it to other things that reminded me a lot of a comparison between using AI in your day-to-day and having an employee. And it's not so dissimilar in the sense that, sure, it has some advantages, it's available 24/7, but then it experiences outages. And sure, it can't quit, it can't join your competitor, but at the same time, maybe in the future you will still want to change it because there will be another model, another provider that is getting better, right? So you will still need to do the onboarding one more time, bring them onto your platform, and understanding your business all over again, right? Just like when you fire an employee because it doesn't perform, you will fire your AI when it doesn't perform. In the end, the salaries that you would pay to a senior employee is more or less the salary you would pay to Claude if you were to use it to its full potential on 24/7, right?
Yeah.
So even the savings on the monetary part, it's not so large and so incredible. And then as well, people who really are extracting value from the AI today, they don't automate everything, right? A large part of what the AI do is still orchestrated by the human behind it, right? So it's a combination of human plus AI that makes the real value, right? So you're still orchestrating what is in the end a junior hire or a mid-level hire that has a lot of information and it's very productive, but without you, it still doesn't run, right? You still have to orchestrate it. You can, of course, automate and structure things to happen automatically, but those are the structured tasks, right? The tasks that are recurring, repeated, and happens always in the same way. The largest amount of the creative work, the strategic work, the less repeatable work will still need to happen with an orchestration, which is still you, right? So you still remain the senior hire and you have multiple AI, one AI that help you do that, but you're still in control and the orchestrator of everything.
Yeah. So when you're advising a team, how do you actually get them to hold these both things at the same time? Because there, as you mentioned, like they have this expectation of AI being like tireless robot employee, and when you actually present them the truth of what it actually is, how do they get it, and how do they implement afterwards?
So it's really complex. Like I told you at the beginning when I made a quick introduction about myself, that before I used to run an implementation agency. And an implementation agency, AI implementation agency, it's basically a software house focused on AI where people would come with a need and we would build a solution for them embedded in their own infrastructure. When that happens, it's really hard to let people understand, to help people understand that AI is non-deterministic, right? So even if I do a great job, I want to be able to guarantee the result. And there are only so many things that the AI can do, right? You can't just give me a task to automate your marketing so that you make like $2 million tomorrow and I will just be able to automate it with the AI, right? There's always a part of creativity and a part of repeated structured tasks which you can automate. So whenever we do implementation for third parties, we would only focus on repeated tasks which are already very well structured, which the team already knows very well. We would never take project, hey, I want to build something new which should do this, but I don't know how it works in practice. I've never done it. No, we would only take people who, hey, we already do this. We know how it works. We know exactly how it should work. I can teach an AI how to do it. That is a project we would take. And then when I made the shift to the training company, right, when the Not Linear, which is the company I'm running today, the focus shifted completely in the sense that I would never go inside the team and advise them on what they need to build. I see a lot my role in this company as giving inspiration to people, right? A lot of the block, a lot of why people don't use AI in their day-to-day, especially within team in larger companies, is because nobody has ever shown what they can achieve and how they can get there in a quick way, right? So the focus of the courses is mostly to teach you a strong fundamental basis, which is easy to understand and easy to retain, but doesn't require you to spend time studying and understanding how model works. So everything is very practical. And then a lot of things shown live, built, deployed, and we see the results live of a lot of different things, right? So on generic public courses, I show them something they can do for sales, automating the call transcript, email follow-up, proposal preparation, some things for marketing, automating the preparation of ads copy based on database, and then integration with, I don't know, Facebook ads, for example, and then a lot of things for admin, how do I automate my invoice creation process, and other similar things, right? So it's a lot of work into giving them the inspiration they need to translate into their daily life. And in general, people that take this type of courses, which are non-technical, will find enough value here, okay? So they will not come and tell you, hey, I wanted to implement this super complex system that runs automatically without me, right? They understand by going through the process and through the demonstration that this is something that can really bring advantage, and they are the orchestrator, right? The part where they completely automate and they replace themselves will come eventually after, but I think for most non-technical people is also much less relevant, right? We focus a lot on personal productivity rather than shipping software for an entire company, which is, a technical role, which still technical people do inside companies.
Exactly. Well, I still hear constantly a lot of people feeling completely left behind to some extent when it comes to AI. And there is so much coming out every week that even I freeze myself sometimes, because you deal in your new venture, you deal exactly with these kinds of people all the time. So how do you actually tell someone who feels like the train has already left without them? And how do you help them implement AI into day-to-day? As you mentioned, like being non-technical, like in being more productive, or repeat tasks being taken by AI so I can have more spare time for my creativity as a marketeer, for example.
So I think this is a great point, and one that comes out very often, but I think it's a misconception, to be honest, in the sense that regardless of where you're starting, the role of AI is to make things easier to do. Okay, so as things progress and more things get shipped out, when a large company, one of these large provider, or even startups push out something new which makes waves in the market, which makes the news, is generally something that makes it easier to use, right? So before it was, hey, I can code, now you can do everything inside Claude, right? And tomorrow we will be able to do even more things in a simpler way, right? So if anything, the more time passes, the easier it is to catch up, in the sense that the easier it is to use AI. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, the only way of using workflow and automating complex tasks was to use tools like an A10, which 4 years ago were very technical. Today, to use an A10, it's much simpler. You can use it in combination with Claude, or they have their own AI copilot, right? So it just becomes easier and easier to use. So paradoxically, the more time you wait, the easier it is to catch up with the wave. And in general, I always tell people, again, focus on, especially this is all for non-technical people, right? But if you are non-technical, you only need 2 tools in your stack, 2 AI tools in your stack. One, a generic pilot, OpenAI or Claude, and then you need something to build slightly more structured workflow, which is a workflow app like an A10, like Lindy, like Relay app, something that helps you build something more structured. But these are the 2 tools which you can use to automate stuff in your day-to-day. Okay, and then sure, you can have a 5% that also we need to generate images, so you can have an image generation, but it will be exceptions, right? With 1 tool or 2 tools, you have almost everything you need to not feel like you're missing out and you're like behind in a wave where really only 1% of the population is really using anything more than a chatbot.
I really like the concept that it's getting easier the more late you feel you are. Well, as we're heading into this new world where everyone actually has the same access to the same tools and can produce basically endless content, and when everyone can do the same things, the obvious question is, where is the advantage coming from anyway? So you spent all day in this. So where do you think the real edge ends up sitting? Is it more about who you actually are, in terms of personal morale, or your personal qualities? Is it your taste, your judgment, and the relationships you've got? Is this still the real edge, or is it something else?
I think yes, right? I think a lot of the edge will be in your soft skills and into your relational capital. Sorry, I'm not sure if I use the right
Yeah.
word in English, but in the relationship you have built. And by relationship, I mean both the personal relationships that you have built with people, as well as an audience which you might have developed on any social media platform, email marketing platform, anywhere, right? It's a lot about how people perceive you and the trust you have and the amount of people you can reach without tapping into paid budget. That is worth a lot, especially these days, because once you have an audience, and an audience can also be, hey, I did sales in I don't know, defense, or I've done sales in this specific niche industry for a long time. I know everybody there. That can be your audience, right? You need to know 10, 15 people in the space to be able to sell something that will make you very rich very fast, right? So having an audience helps you design tools that the audience would want, right? Because you know it well, you know what they want, and you know what to deliver. You already have a connection with them, so it's easier to develop the tools today, but it's not easier to sell them and to put them in the hands of the people. If anything, it's just getting harder and harder. So if you have that, I think that's a real edge. And personally, it's also what I'm betting on, right? 50% of my time is running the company, 50% of the time is building an audience and a community I can tap into, and I can sell whatever services I'm producing to, right? So I think that is the biggest advantage. And then I'm not saying that's the only way, also creativity and the ability of coming up with the incredible idea, but I think it's a much riskier bet, if it makes sense, right?
Yeah, it feels like that for sure. And as you already mentioned, like you teach a lot of marketeers and operators to build these systems in-house instead of outsourcing it to an agency. So I have to ask the obvious question, what happens to the agency in all of this? Like, do they adapt to these changes, or does a big chunk of that business model just quietly goes away as time passes and more AI is being integrated into in-house
No.
teams?
Honestly, no, I don't think so. I think the agency model will survive forever, especially in these ages when things change so fast. You will have some infrastructure tools like Claude, OpenAI, and all of the largest manuals, all of the largest AI provider that provide a solid base where anybody can tap into. Many company will need an agency to translate it into their own business, right? Just like before, they need someone to run ads. They still do, right? But it's just like the type of services they provide and how they deliver those services will naturally change. And I think like a vast majority of agencies are well aware and are adopting AI in their business model. At least that's what they see. Sure, I live on LinkedIn as my main social platform, and that everybody's using AI, of course. But in general, I think it's very obvious for the agency people that they need to update and implement AI into whatever service they run, right? If it's an implementation agency, if it's a technical agency, if it's an ads agency, I think all of these agencies already are well aware of the change and will be. It's easier for an agency to change than it is for a large company, for a structured company, right? Agencies are smaller, more dynamic. They don't have their own product. They have, but it's a service product, right? So it's much easier for them to change the product without changing how the company works. The selling remains the same. The back end and the workers already know how to do those tasks. You just basically edit the service, how you deliver the service to the client.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for these insights. I guess all the agency owners that are watching this will definitely get some insights in how to
So
build it.
I mean, they should, and I'm more than confident that most of them are already, progressing towards much more AI-based service offering.
Thank you, Pietro. It was a really awesome conversation, and thanks for coming on the AI show. Hope this is the first time of many to come. Thank you.
It was a pleasure, Sophia. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.